Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast helping you and your family cruise a little smarter, and I'd like to welcome back to the show today, all the way down in Los Angeles. How you doing today, Chris?
Pretty good. Can't complain. It is October, which means we're close to Christmas. And as you know, I start celebrating Christmas at midnight on November 1st.
So you have everything pulled out and ready to go.
Oh, literally, when I was at Costco, I bought a wreath already because they were on sale. And I was like, gotta get my wreath for this year.
And all the way down in Florida, the yin to my yang as far as October goes. How are you doing today, Christy?
I am well. And since we're talking about October, let's talk about how beautiful it is in Orlando this week. Oh my goodness. The mornings are crisp and cool as if it's like really fall. We can open the windows, have the breeze come in. I actually started a run the other day. I was a little bit cold at the start. I got hot, but I was a little cold. And then the evenings are cool again. We can get out long sleeve shirts. I might be able to wear one of these Spirit jerseys I actually bought this year.
You guys crack me up. Between Christy down in LA, once he gets down below 60, you get your Spirit jerseys and North Face stuff on, and Christy over in Florida.
But I highly doubt that it is cold enough in Florida right now to warrant long sleeves.
It was in the 50s, I think, the other morning, briefly, a very brief moment.
Okay. Well, I just thought you might have carried some of your Detroit thick skin.
Yeah, I didn't have it.
You never really liked the winters there.
The cold did bother me.
Wait, how does that go in that song? Can't you
remember? The cold never bothered me anyways, Steve.
I know. And I didn't go see Frozen on this last sale.
You're not even a Disney fan.
I know. Chris, did you listen to Steve's podcast episode his mini-sode that he released with Wake?
No, that was released like 10 minutes ago. I don't have time. I'll listen to it on my run this week.
Well, you will be irritated that he did not watch Frozen on any of the 2 nights that it was playing.
And they didn't even have Dreams on his sailing. It was just Frozen and Nightmare Before Christmas, which I don't know that I would I don't know I would spend any time on my cruise watching Nightmare, but that's only because it's a movie I could watch on Disney Plus whenever I want, included.
Well, we got a little bit of a potpourri. How do you say it? Potpourri show for you today. We love having our guests on, but something that our Patreons get to hear sometimes is us kind of rambling on about a bunch of different things. So we got a bunch of different topics we're going to talk about today. And let's start it off with you, Christy. You just went back on another cruise on the Disney Fantasy. We're not going to go into all the ins and outs of it, but did anything stand out? And what was your experience on the Fantasy? This is a 4-day or 3-day?
Wait,
4-day.
Are we talking about the Fantasy?
Oh, the Dream. The Dream. Okay. I'm sorry. So you've been on so many cruises. I already forgot what ship you're on. So you did Dream, Fantasy, and then you were back on the Dream again. So 3-day cruise, right? It was a
3-night weekend. My son had one of the days off school, and the other day he was back to school with his little lunch made by like 10 o'clock in the morning or 10:30. So it was perfect. It was a perfect little weekend getaway. It was different. Some of the things were better. Like our food was better on the Dream this last time than the first time. So the first time was August something, like maybe August 20th. I don't remember exactly. In between that, I went on the Fantasy and then maybe August 27th. Then I went on the Fantasy. Then I went on the Dream again. The food was better this time. I was actually able, for our gluten-free listeners on the Dream, I was able to get my fried brie, which is not always something that they'll prepare on the Dream, even in pre-pandemic times. Sometimes they can't do it. And it was the best fried brie. I am a little bit bummed that it was on the last night because I would have had that every night if I knew it was possible. But I did give our server and head waiter, I guess it was just our server, a heads up. And I said, if you could just ask them and tell them they have 2 days to get ready because we were eating Apollo the next day. So I was coming back 2 days later to get my fried brie, that I would really appreciate it. And, there was cheering occurred. So that was fun.
The weather was a little touch and go through most of this cruise too for you, right? So am I wrong on that? I know it was raining when you left, and then you say Castaway wasn't the greatest, or maybe it was rainy on Castaway.
Oh, yes. This is the one I almost forgot. And Dave and I were just talking about it. Castaway, they made us shelter. We had to shelter in covered areas because of the storm that was coming through, which pandemic times, I will say that my family, so we were over near Cookies One. So there was that covered area that's over by the kids club. If any of you can picture that in your head, it might even be a part of the kids club on some levels sometimes, but people were over there. People were at Cookies One, and Cookies One has two sides. So it's a lot. And then obviously there's Cookies Two and the whole rest of the island. I don't even know what's happening everywhere else, but we had to stay there for probably well over an hour and a half. And then it was lunchtime. And so people were eating, but it was lots of rain. The clouds were coming in. It started out so beautifully too. It was such a shame. We never even got in the water. Then by the time we ate lunch, it was still kind of storming. My lunch took a really long time, which I do not fault anybody for. The weather was really, really, really bad, you guys. These crew actually started delivering, because my food for diets have to be delivered. They were delivering the food in the rain. Like they had rain ponchos on, and they would like double tray the trays so they weren't getting wet. I mean, they worked so hard. My food took forever. I think just that, and everybody kind of being in close quarters, that's stressful for me as a general rule. We got this amazing little corner table that we could kind of like hide from people. Some areas were more crowded. Some people were wearing less masks than others. For me, that's still important, even though people are testing. But in my little crazy head, I worry about somebody, still having something brewing inside them that hasn't tested positive for yet, whatever. That was a crazy day that I had forgotten about. I had put it out of my memory, but then the weather turned out beautifully. So people that ended up staying, like we ended up going back, and there was like a tiny bit more rain. And then the weather turned around and it turned out to be a nice day. But that was our first time. There was one other time where when Blake was an infant, we had to go undercover for a tiny little bit. But this was a long bit of needing to be covered up. So where they emptied the water and said, everybody out.
So definitely a little bit different experience. I think we've had one day where it was kind of windy and was very cool on Castaway. I think that was the last time we went on. It was like in October on the Dream. Chris, how's your experience been? You've had pretty good experiences at Castaway, right?
Yeah, I've had rain, but that's because it rains every afternoon during the summer. And I went during the summer once. But those afternoon rainstorms are like really just like blink and you'll miss them. Sometimes they last like 10 minutes and then they're gone. So most of the crew on the island is just like, whatever, get out of the water. There's lightning in the area. But besides that, they don't really care. If you go in the winter, the water is cooler, but a lot of times there's not a cloud in the sky. So it's just like super beautiful blue skies, really nice weather. Like the last cruise I went on before the pandemic was in February. And it was like that. It was beautiful. Cold water, but beautiful.
That is true. The water, even for us, I mean, we enjoy it, but the water can be like Hawaii is the same way, where it gets cooler in the winter when you go over there. It's definitely a lot warmer in the summer, and plus just having the hotter temperatures outside makes it easier to get into and out of the water. So Hawaii kind of has the same things that I think the Castaway does in the winter. Did anything else kind of change or stand out as far as this cruise goes, Christy? There's one point I want to talk about, which we were talking about before, and that's missing out on things. And we may have a little bit longer episode with somebody coming up here in the future, but I think we should touch on it while we're talking about it today. But anything else stand out before we talk about that?
The one thing is, and Steve, were there signs on the elevator on the Wonder about limiting the capacity of who was in the elevator?
There are, but we didn't use the elevator once, so I'm not sure how well it worked out.
Fancy. So
no, it just means that's how we try and stay in shape.
So fleet-wide, this is not consistent. When we got on the Dream the first time, we got on the Fantasy, there were signs that said like one family per elevator or like 2 guests. And most of the time, people would still let in, everybody's wearing their masks. They would let in one other family or some. So there might be like 5 people in these elevators or 6 people, whatever. The elevator signs are all gone on the Dream. And there was a lot more walking around with beverages than in the past, like even trying to get on elevators that now don't have signs. So that was a difference. We did take the elevator more. We didn't do as much. Like I know or we did took the stairs more is what I was trying to say. We did a lot. I did text you guys that one day. We did a lot of vegging. I think Dave and I were tired, and Blake was digging the kids club like he has been. This kid is a kids club kid all of a sudden. I think the structure of the kids club is working for him. Because of that, he is spending a lot more time in the kids club. You do still have to make the reservations. You do still have to check them in and check them out, even if it's an extended period. I think on my first stream, we were able to just let that time lapse and overlap, and we didn't have to go and get them, but they were adamant, sticking to that rule where you have to pick up your child from the kids club for ages 3 to 12. So, and if you are still checking your kid in and out, and they did say like Blake could check himself out and then check himself back in, and we weren't doing any of that, but he's loving it. And the kids club experience is different. So for our listeners to know, they are now more structured. They have groups, and there's like a craft in one section. There is a video game in section. So they're doing some sort of video gamey type thing. They also do just the games, like that one screen with the colors and on the ground.
It's like a dance floor kind of thing almost, right? Where you can do stuff.
Yeah. I've seen them put patterns on it before. So I guess they could play like chess or checkers or like human.
Yeah, they do something with people on it. Mm-hmm. That type of stuff he really liked. They usually are having a character now through the kids club, which is fun. They do story time. They move through these sections, and the kids are there. I think like the first day it's an hour and a half. Then it's 2.5 hours. The last day in the evening might go back to an hour and a half again. And you can make more than one time. So I would just tell our listeners, I am going to do a blog post. I'm hoping to get it up in the next couple of weeks. I want to thank Brian from the DCL Duo, because there was one picture I didn't get, and I actually asked him if he could get it for me, and he sent it so that I can show people in the blog post how to do it. So just look out for that at Pack Your Pixie Dust. But you click on your same, like in the app where you have the reservation for your child's kids club time, you click on that same kids club like appointment. Then there's a spot to add a second kids club appointment. And that's what you do. You just like click on this random, like add time, and you think you're doing something to the first kids club time, but you're not. You do that, you get your kids club time, and you can just add in as much time as available. You have to pick up your kid on time, but you don't have to drop off your kid on time. So like for us one day, there was something we were doing. We just said, okay, look, I could get you in the kids club, but you're going to miss a half an hour of it, which was fine because he was still getting 2 hours. We finished doing whatever we were doing and then just took them a half hour late. And then they just plop them back in that group that they belong with. The other thing they did do this time is they kind of kept him with certain people more, which was smart, right? For social distancing purposes or for tracking type purposes in case there has been anybody testing positive. Even if he arrived at the 2:00 time, sometimes they would put him back in the group with the 1:30 time so that he was with those same kids that he had been with a lot, if that makes sense. So they're like really thinking things through like that and trying to put like kids together or keeping their little groups together. So they're really thinking all of this through. They're working really hard to come up with ways to entertain the kids. It's all very impressive. It's really nice.
But overall, you didn't have a hard time adding on time when you wanted to, for the most part?
No, there was one afternoon. It worked out perfectly because we ended up taking him swimming. I want to say this was our C-Day. In the afternoon, it was totally full. Like you couldn't get in from like 2 to 5, or maybe it was like noon to 5, whatever it was. There was like a big chunk of time, or noon to 4, that you couldn't get your kid in. That it was just, and we said something, I think we were dropping off Blake once, and we asked somebody about it, and they just said, oh yeah, it's full this afternoon. But this was very crowded. It was the most crowded, the crew had indicated. It was the most crowded sailing to date.
It was also over Columbus Day weekend, so it probably had a little bit to do with it as well, where people were out. Anything else, Christy, before we turn on to the Wonder? I know Chris has got that sailing coming up, and he may have some questions about that.
Yeah, and some of our listeners do as well, so that's exciting.
Yeah. But anything else about the fantasy? Why do you keep saying the fantasy, the dream?
The dream. I don't think so.
Okay.
If I come up with something, I'll tell you later.
All right. We'll talk about the get there early. Spaces fill up here in a second, but because of your sailings, because of all of our listeners' sailings, and I texted Lake and Katie this morning and said, hey, thanks for kind of leading the charge and leading the way and being one of the first ones out there along with you and kind of painting the picture. That kind of spurned us to book this cruise kind of last minute. And Chris, you are heading out there soon in about a week and a half, 2 weeks?
Is it? Yeah.
2 weeks. Yeah.
I guess. You and Monday the 31st.
12
right?
days.
Yeah, we're going on the Wonder. So I'll ask you questions because you just got off the Wonder. Did you end up walking from the airport?
We did. It took us 45 minutes. So I would not, we loved it. It felt awesome to just walk over there. It was a little hot the first day. And then the second, after we got off, it was a nice cool breeze. I will tell you that there are a few homeless people along the way there on that walk. So it's not really for families with kids and a lot of bags, but for the two of us, we just had our one roller bags and we love it. It's a nice little walk.
Do we need to start a GoFundMe page? Is the cab fare a problem?
No, not at all. Matter of fact, there's tons of cabs out there that we could have jumped in, but it just felt good after eating for 3 days and having a few beverages or two to walk over to the airport. We got 30 minutes early, got on our flight and went home. So it was perfect. So
what was your arrival time?
Port arrival time was 11:30 to 12:30 is what we had. So
did you get there then? I felt like you got there a lot later than that.
We got there at noon. So we landed at 11 and we're in line by noon. And the whole, as everybody has already talked about, that all kind of worked out. The only thing I really want to say, just in case anybody missed it, was a couple of days prior to leaving, it still showed pending for our port arrival, being cleared to arrive at the port. And so I reached out to Safe Passage. They've got an email, you can email them. And I got a message back almost immediately. And they said that Anawake's vaccination card was blurry. And so they needed a new picture from there. So uploaded that. And by the next morning, we were clear to go to the port. So if for some reason it's getting close to your cruise and it still shows pending and you're not sure why, maybe reach out to the Safe Passage people and get that fixed.
That irritates me.
You shouldn't have to reach out. You probably submitted that at 2 weeks out.
We did.
I feel like that's a little bit of a miss on their end, unless they emailed Wake and she missed it, which obviously could happen, I guess. But when I submitted mine, it said that they would tell us within 2 business days, which would be today. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. You were in a group of 1,100. Is that what I ended up hearing? You're selling at 11 or 1150?
It was right around, somewhere between 11 and 1,200, 1150. They said
that's a lot too.
They said about 60% of the capacity of the ship, and it was busy, but it never felt overly busy, if that makes any sense. You can always find spots around the pool deck areas. I mean, there was people around doing things, and we never walked by the lobby when the princesses were out and there was nobody there. There was always, somebody getting their picture taken and everything else, but it wasn't overly crowded. I think we had to wait at Cabanas one morning for about 15 minutes before we could go in there as they just kind of spaced people out. It really wasn't all that bad. Matter of fact, it was awesome, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, even a 60% capacity during normal times would be excellent. So you had a veranda room. Was there anything noteworthy or new in the rooms?
Nothing new. I will just say overall, the ship, the Wonder, is an immaculate. She looks amazing. We were looking at the teak, and the teak is just shined to perfection. I mean, everything about her has just been cleaned and painted and everything else. And so nothing really stood out in the staterooms. You get your Dove chocolate. We had an amazing stateroom host who we found out that we had met her when we were on the Disney Magic up in Norway on our second cruise. She wasn't our stateroom host, but she was right next door. And it was super fun to be able to reconnect with her because she remembered our youngest son. So that was fun.
Listen to more of that story in the episode that Steve just released on Tuesday. It's really cute.
I don't want to repeat all the same things. So
what didn't you talk about?
Well, I'll throw a couple other things out there. So the food I thought was really good. Just like Christy said, other people have said, I think probably a bunch of different reasons because they don't have as many people. So maybe it's a little bit fresher in the larger restaurants. But I even noticed they had Mickey waffles in Cabanas and you could actually taste the cinnamon in it. So as you're eating it, before I've always felt it's just a fluffy waffle, but not with a lot of flavor. Just, it's just putting syrup or butter on it or however you eat your Mickey waffle, but you can actually taste the cinnamon in it. And I think just all the way around, through all our food experiences, we kind of had similar experiences. The food, I think they're really putting some effort into it. And I feel like they're putting effort all the way across the board where they can.
Did you get a lemon tart?
No, which.
So what Chris is asking about Palo dinner, Steve makes the wrong choice and felt like the lemon tart was the dessert to get during that dinner. But really, it is the chocolate souffle, in case any of our listeners are listening. But they split dessert. You can listen to more of that story in the episode, which I should figure out what the number is, but that Steve just released prior to this one. But you had to split food. So how did that come to be? And why didn't you just get your own dumb lemon tart?
Because I did the price fix thing and I was like, it wasn't that expensive to get an extra dessert. But at that point, we were pretty full from everything else we'd been eating. And so I'm not sure even Anawake wanted to eat the whole thing by herself. She kind of joked with me about it. Didn't there used to be a chocolate souffle and then a vanilla souffle? Wasn't there two different ones? Am I out to lunch on
that? No, the vanilla souffle is at...
It's not vanilla. It's Grand Mariner souffle.
Oh, right.
Yes.
And like it's at like Triton's or whatever,
Royal Court,
whatever that is
Palace.
On each ship. It's almond. So a lot of people don't like almond. A lot of people don't like marzipan flavor. So like Seth doesn't like that. Also, I can't imagine a souffle in such a large restaurant would work very well because
Dave got it on the Dream and loved it, actually.
We had it the next night in Triton's and it was good. Oh. It wasn't as fresh. It was a little it wasn't as fluffy as the one that we had up in, what can I say? Palo.
You were going to say Cabanas.
I was going to say Cabanas up in Subway.
Oh my God. Now we're referring it to Subway again.
So the only other thing I would say is I kind of enjoyed having the two different options between the price fix or the a la carte. But there's several things on the a la carte menu, which are not on the price fix menu, which I think people enjoy. Like for us, we love the scallops. So I kind of hope that they find a way to mix and match those a little bit. So it's not the same thing every time.
And the antipasti plate, like you have to buy the whole thing for $22. That's half the price of the Palo dinner for one antipasti plate.
Wait, the prefix doesn't come with cheese and tomatoes or whatever? That's weird.
Nope.
Right.
Do they have bread service?
Yes.
They do. Yeah.
And so what is that? Olive oil and like an olive tapenade or something? Or?
Oh, no. I don't think it comes with anything. Doesn't it just come with bread?
Yeah. It's just kind of...
I don't even think there was butter.
No. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that focaccia bread with like the sea salt and everything on it. And then the rest of it's just like a breadstick and something else.
Yeah, like that bread cracker thing. Like I can't eat that stuff, but that's what you guys get. The bread cracker thing and those sticks, the Italian sticks that you would get at an Italian restaurant.
Right. I mean, potentially unpopular opinion. Actually, I don't even think so. Palo on Magic and Wonder is better than Palo on Dream and Fantasy because it has an open kitchen. And I love an open kitchen. I think it adds to the ambiance. Also, you can make sure, because I have food allergies, I like the chefs to feel like I can watch them. So my preference is Palo on the Magic and Wonder.
I totally agree with you with that. And it was kind of funny. We were talking to our server about that. And she was saying that she loves the Magic and the Wonder as well, because she can look and see the chefs and when the food comes up, because otherwise when on the Dream and the Fantasy, they have a little buzzer that's always buzzing off in there that they keep in their pants. And so she's always like...
Stress.
She never knows whose food's ready and she can't turn it off as she's sitting there talking to you. It's sitting there buzzing in her back pocket or wherever she keeps it.
So we had at our Palo dinner on the Dream, a server from the Wonder, Svetlana was her name. I have a hard time saying it, but loved her so much because we had early seating. And so she didn't have any other tables for a long time, like maybe over a half an hour. So she talked to us so much. But she said that she actually prefers the Dream class ships now because the cabins are better.
Oh, for the crew
so
members.
She came from the Wonder.
Crew.
Yes.
I believe that. The conditions for crew members back in the day, and let's be real, the Magic and the Wonder are back in the day ships. 1998 is a long time ago. They would have built those ships with really minimal crew space, which makes me feel a little sad for those folks who have to live in that for 6 months out of every year.
But they do it over and over and they want to keep doing it.
Obviously, they keep coming back.
Right. So let's tip them nicely, but also,
maybe the Wish will have like luxe accommodations. It's like Captain Kate on Celebrity Edge. She always shows her like captain's apartment.
The captain's apartment's always nice.
But I want to see what the Disney captain's compartment looks like, because hers looks like a loft apartment in New York. It's like gorgeous, and she has a hairless cat who lives in there. She's got all the stuff, and I'm like, is Commodore Tom or whatever living in a New York lofted apartment?
Well, he might be, because he's retired.
Yeah, he retired. I know. He made way for Captain Kate, but she rejected her offer so that she could be on Celebrity whatever.
Yeah,
well, Edge first, and now she's on the Beyond. It was just released last week. Last week. She's going to Celebrity Beyond,
which is still an Edge class ship, right?
It is. And it's the third Edge class ship, and it comes out sometime next year, 2022. She's actually, I was kind of surprised by this. So it must be earlier 2022. She's not going on a break. And then there is work that they do to launch a ship, but she's not captaining a ship again until the Beyond. So she's got like a break of working the seas.
That's healthy. Mm-hmm. I want that for her. Maybe she can like start dating and live in one spot for a little while.
She's married.
Oh, well, I don't know anything about her. I was creating a New York like socialite vibe.
She lives in Vegas.
Wait, where does her partner live?
Her husband is the head of engineering or something for Virgin Cruise Line.
Fascinating. I want a documentary, and I want it now.
Well, go to her Instagram stories, and I'm pretty sure she has highlights of a lot still posted with a lot of her history on it. So she talks about it, and you're just going to have to cruise one of her ships because she doesn't.
I want to. Are you kidding? I would love to. But I'll wait for Beyond. You know, like to me, the Edge is old class now. So I want to go on the Beyond.
2 years old.
I know.
But yeah.
There you go with our Captain Kate update, the October update of Captain Kate and what's going on with her life.
We're actually moving from a DCL podcast to a Captain Kate Stan cast.
Steve, you told us that you wanted a potpourri episode of us, and you wanted to be a part of us just having a conversation. This is us having a conversation.
Exactly. I love it. Okay. So just a couple other things to throw out there about food. We did Animator's Palette. We missed Tiana's place. We did Animator's Palette. And unfortunately... What? Well, we didn't have a choice. It was
you could have moved your reservation, pal.
Yeah, right? Or told them you need to go to Tiana's place one night for dinner.
So blasphemy. In all honesty, I like all three of them about the same on the Wonder. So to be completely honest, I was happy with the two that we went to, except for the fact that Animator's Palette, they did the show where you draw. It was fun. It was fine, but I probably would have rather gone to Tiana's versus the drawing show. I was hoping it was going to be the other one, but I was glad that we ended up at Triton's because that is still probably my favorite restaurant out of the Disney ships.
Because Escargot, right?
Yes, Escargot, Triton's, and Lumiere's. Love those two restaurants. So that was about it for food.
Did you go to the New Orleans bar that's there now?
We did. We went there for trivia one time, and we had drinks there one time.
Did you get any beignets?
No, they do a happy hour in the morning though, from 7:30 to 8:30. So you can get up, and for $4.99, you get a coffee of your choice. So like a specialty coffee and 2 beignets.
That's a great price, actually. If you get the specialty coffee. That would be a great
price if the coffee were any good. Is it Cove Coffee or is it?
It's a machine, right?
I don't know if it's the same as the Cove Coffee. They do have a machine. They have a coffee machine down there. So it's not the same. It's not the included coffee. Let's put it that way.
Wow, Steve, if I had $1 for every time you said, I don't know.
Yeah. See, we're not a very good man on the job, Steve. You're not giving us a proper trip report. You should know.
Well, I told you that they have a happy hour. What? I told you they have a happy hour. Did you go to it? No, because it was like I was enjoying my Cove coffee, so I didn't make it down to beignets.
If they had gluten-free beignets there?
No, I didn't ask them that either.
No. So
I know.
I'll find out, Christy. Don't you worry.
Please do. Thank you.
I'll double check.
Chris is not going to do that. He's like, I was having too much fun running around in my costume. I didn't have time.
My other parts of my costume arrived today. It's going to be so good. I can't
Did we talk about what you're going to dress up as?
No, you can't tell anybody.
We'll post pictures.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Wait, do you know Steve?
Yes, I saw a picture of it. He sent it to both of us.
I sent it to both of you.
Oh. Was I at a cruise?
No.
Maybe. You're on a cruise every other day. One. I'll send you another one.
Next 2 cruises I have internet access for. I'm very excited about that. Listen, Disney, people like to get on the internet while they're
cruising. I like to unplug.
Yeah, we had several people mention it both ways, and that we met along the way. And a lot of people really enjoyed the fact that they couldn't get on the internet, so they weren't able to. So forced them not to, I guess. I guess how the Halloween on the High Seas stuff, the thing, missing is they don't do the pumpkin tree story, which is a little bit too bad, but they don't want to bring people down there. The Mickey's Masquerade, we saw the last 10 minutes of it. That looked super cute. I think that's worth going to see. Christy, you saw it?
Oh, yeah, I saw it. It's cute.
Yeah. So I think that looks super cute. The fireworks, we really enjoyed those. They were like 2.5 minutes or something with different Disney songs. And
it was perfect for me. Yeah. I don't need a longer fireworks show than that personally.
And it's a pretty good ending too. So like there's a whole bunch at the very end. So it's not kind of like just like boom, 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 like I think one of the first times I felt like it was kind of like that. I was just like one or two at a time, but the ending here was actually pretty neat. I wanted to talk a little bit about shore excursions because we did one. And as Brian was saying, they kind of keep you in a bubble right now. And Scott Sanders put this up on his blog. If you're under 12 and you're unvaccinated, which is everybody under 12 right now, you cannot leave the ship unless you're in a shore excursion. So even if you're in a place like Ensenada, you can't just go out there and wander around. So you have to do a shore excursion. Unfortunately, for Ensenada, the only real options were a wine tour and an ATV riding and horseback riding. So we had two families with kids that came on the wine tour, and I kind of felt a little bit bad for them, but they made the most of it.
Did they give them grape juice? What's going on?
Yeah. What did they do? Did they run around? What?
Well, luckily we were outside in a lot of different places. And so the kids just kind of ran around and played. So that's kind of a limit. Ensenada may not be the best place. I have no idea what they're doing in Nassau. Down in Cabo, it sounds like there's some more options if you want to try and do snorkeling or something for kids that are adventurous.
Let's talk about that for 1 second, which will lead us to our next topic, probably, unless you need to come back to shore excursions.
No, that's good.
One of our listeners sent me a message today. She wanted to know if she would be able to book shore excursions on the ship because everything is sold out that they could do. And she has kids that are under 12. And she went to originally book something, but had a kids club time and was thinking the shore excursion would be there later. And now it's sold out, but she would have had to cancel her kids club time, which is like another flaw because you can't modify the kids club time. So she probably didn't know what times were going to be available. So she doesn't have a shore excursion for her port day. And as we just mentioned, she can't leave the ship without a shore excursion with her kids. So this is all just something that Disney's going to have to work out because this is something that's here for a little bit. We have to see how it's going to go. And people, I guess, just have to book something. The thing is with Disney is you don't pay until you go on the excursion or, until you're on the ship. If you don't show up, then you still have to pay. So, but it's not due until the cruise has occurred. You can cancel it up to 3 days before the cruise. Yeah. And so just book something if you're considering it and then cancel it. And then we have another listener. I just got this email tonight and had to send it to him, which apparently I never hit send. So I have to send that. He was doing the Fun Cat rental in Castaway Cay. And that looks like it's been, I don't know what that means. But that looks like it's been canceled.
It's something you can sail. Yeah.
Like a catamaran.
Yeah.
I don't think our listeners understand that most other cruise lines require you to pay for your excursions at the time of booking. And so it's inconvenient, but Disney does not require that. So if you think you even might go on a shore excursion, book it when the booking window opens, or else it totally can fill up. That happened to us when we were dragging our feet about going to the Tortola baths or whatever they are, which always sells out, but I didn't know that. So when we finally decided we wanted to do it, it was gone. So anyway, I think just fun fact about Disney Cruise Line is you can book those shore excursions without having to pay any penalties as long as you cancel right before.
That is a good segue into one of the points that we wanted to make. And like I said, we'll probably do a podcast with one of our awesome listeners, a good friend of our show, to talk about kind of her experiences that she was on the same sailing as you, Christy. And that is, if there's something that you think you want to do like that, book it. Because like we just said, you can cancel it. Also, if you're on the ship, even with the limited amount of people on it, they are still doing social distancing, like things for trivia. And so if you want to be part of a trivia, you may want to make sure you're there early, because we went to 2 of them where we were there probably 15 minutes early and it's dead. There's like nobody there. And like 2 minutes before, the crowd comes in and there's no seats and they can't let you in, unfortunately, because they keep tables open in between some of the other tables. And I felt bad because Anamik and I were at the Disney trivia. We were kind of joking around that like, well, there's our Disney Tunes trivia. We're never going to get half of these. And there was like some seriously competitive people coming up. I was like, this is our last chance to be able to do this. And I felt bad for him. Just, I guess, be aware to maybe show up about 15 minutes early. I'm not sure that that's as big a deal with the show unless you want a certain type of seating in the shows themselves.
It actually can be with the shows. And our listener did tell us that she showed up, I think, for everything 15 minutes early. So this was on the Dream where there were more people. So just keep that in mind.
Well, that might be a good point too, because we were actually told, Brian and I from the DCL duo were talking to one of the cast members, and they actually said that the majority of the sailors on our sailing were first-time sailors. So Disney people, or us as Disney people, we're ultimate planners, aren't we? We know that like, hey, if you want to be able to get something, you got to get there early. And maybe a lot of those people didn't know that. So maybe 15 minutes was easy on the Wonder, but on the Dream, where there's more people that have cruised more often, and maybe they're already on their second or third sailing already, it may be a little bit more competitive to get in. I think that's all I have to say about that. So characters everywhere. We got to see just about everybody. And I think that's all I got. Chris, any other questions that you're thinking of before you guys head out on the Wonder?
Was Wake's massage different than normal?
She, what did she say? I think normally you go back to the locker room and get ready. And in this case, she didn't. You just went straight back to get your massage and came back. So as far as the actual massage itself, no, you just wear your mask. I think that they kind of limited her being able to go into the locker room before or after.
But Disney's ships don't have fun locker rooms, right? There's not like hot and cold plunge pools or like saunas or things like that.
No, but the locker room's pretty good.
Well, I'm sure it has those things, but I'm saying like I've been on cruise ships where part of the like experience is that the gendered locker rooms have like essentially like spa amenities that if you pay to get in for a massage, you then also get like plunge pools and like steam saunas and rock saunas and all that stuff.
Well, but that's what the rainforest room was.
But you pay extra for that, right? Even if you get a massage?
I feel like it used to at one point be if you got a spa service. Then they were like, hey, in there. Look at us. We can make money selling this.
And that doesn't sound like them.
Not at all, right? So,
well, okay. So, but she enjoyed the massage.
She did. Yeah.
Did she have to wear a mask?
She did. She had to wear a mask. And then the person giving the massage wore a mask as well. But there was plenty of dates. There was kind of sold out on the web before we went. But when she went in, right when we got there's plenty. If you get on early, there's so much time because there's not much going on until probably about 3 or 4 when they start running some trivia stuff, and there's no sail away parties. So it was easy for her to pop down to the spa and check it out. Well, I enjoyed myself at the Quiet Cove pool. So we loved it. The Wonder's amazing. Is it perfect? No. Is it different? Yes. But we felt safe the whole time. We saw, most people were doing a good job with the masks, social distancing, elsewhere around the pools and stuff like that. And yeah, we love the experience. Can't wait to go back again.
Also, Steve, there's no adult water slide or a water slide that adults can go on the Wonder, right?
Correct. You can go down. You can go down the Mickey slide, the yellow one with the kids.
I don't think so. There's
other ships you can't.
Yeah, really? There's an age limit on it.
I thought maybe Brian just went up there with Nathan, his son. So okay, I don't know. I guess not. I don't know.
Maybe our listeners who know the answer will tell us.
For sure, the yellow slide on the Dream had an age limit.
Yeah, okay. That's what I'm remembering too.
You're probably right on that. So yes, no slide, but I love the adult areas on the Magic of the Wonder. Just I feel like it's a bigger, more open space than the small little pool on the Dream and the Fantasy.
Oh yeah, the pool area is much larger on the. Well, also the Dream and the Fantasy, they make it seem like it's a bigger pool because they have that part where the water's up to your ankles, but it's like. No, the actual pool on the Dream and the Fantasy is like just a big hot tub shape.
Exactly. Well, I think that's all we've got about this. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Chris will be on Halloween on the Wonder. And so I look forward to your guys' experience when you sail on it as well. I know you're going to have a great time.
Yeah, I'm excited. Actual Halloween on the high seas.
Well, let's turn. We just got one kind of news story. And this has been out for a little bit, but Grand Cayman removed sailings through the end of 2021. This affected one sailing of the Magic, 3 sailings on the Fantasy. And so if you're looking at booking Grand Cayman, it's still on cruises going into 2022, but Grand Cayman has closed cruise tourism, and they're not going to reevaluate it until late January 2022 at the earliest. And some things that I've seen written about it is they don't want the cruise tourism to come back. They don't really need it. And so I think this might be one of those things during the pandemic where it may take a while for Grand Cayman to open back up to ships stopping there. They've stopped work on, they were going to start work on a port where because it's one of the tender boats.
They were going to build a pier. Yeah.
Yeah. And they stopped work on that. So kind of like down in Key West, where people that live there kind of like, maybe we don't want the masses coming in every day. Any thoughts on that?
I did Grand Cayman. I loved it, but I also it's up to them. If they don't want ships to come in that way, they shouldn't have to have it. So,
and I get it. People are real disrespectful, which is sad to say and to think. But as I've been doing too many cruises, probably in too short of a time, you realize a little bit just some of the behavior of some people that you're traveling with. So I can see that way of thinking. I can, unfortunately. It's a shame. And I hope that they come back because I do have a cruise next year on the Fantasy. Our Thanksgiving cruise is scheduled to stop there. And I love the beach there. I love the water. I want to go and do a whole beach day again there. It's just so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. So
right. They're the ones that have 7 Mile Beach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We went to 7 Mile Beach. It is beautiful. And there's chickens on the beach, which is just kind of fun.
We did a great catamaran tour out to swim with the stingrays, and so that was a really good.
You went to Stingray City?
We went to Stingray City. Yeah, well, there's 2 Stingray cities. There's one you can walk at, and there's one that you have to like snorkel around in, I guess. So we went to the one where you had to take a boat out to get to it, but it was pretty cool. We liked that stop there too. Matter of fact, we booked, and we've since canceled it, but we had booked it 2023 on the Fantasy that went. It was a Western that stopped at Grand Cayman, and to be honest, that out of the 3 ports, that's the one that we wanted to go to, and with the possibility of it not being there, I think I might gravitate towards the Eastern, to be completely honest, but I don't know. We'll see.
I always prefer the Eastern because I like having another sea day for my own, like I like being on the ship.
The Eastern also has pretty islands that are mountainous.
Yes, but the water, like if you were a diver or even a snorkeler, the water is typically better in the Western. Grand Cayman has some of the best diving in the world, and Cozumel's really obviously heavily known for their diving as well. Jamaica's actually got really good diving, so something to consider.
I think we'd like to add that Southern Caribbean too, to get down to Bonaire and dive down there as well. Well, let's turn to maybe our final topic. We'll see how long this one goes. I think there's enough Walt Disney World podcasts out there that cover everything that's going on at Walt Disney World. I mean, is there anything going on at Walt Disney World right now?
I mean, there might be a small celebration.
So
Genie Plus launched today.
Genie Plus, we're not going to even get into that tonight.
No, I don't want to hear about Lightning Lane.
But I was kind of cracking myself up. I was laughing because I was texting with Chris in the concierge, and he was down at Disneyland while we were on our cruise. And he made the comment, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Chris, that it was so crowded there, it felt like Christmas time. So Disneyland, crowded like Christmas time, Walt Disney World, nobody's there. And they get the 50th going on. What's going on at Disneyland, Chris?
I would not say nobody's there.
Well, you're not.
Well, comparatively, it is not like what's happening at Disneyland. So I can explain. Disney World is dependent on traveling for their business. There are not enough people in Central Florida to sustain that theme park system with 4 giant theme parks. And I don't even know how many. Is it 100,000 hotel rooms? It's something absurd. So Disney World is just not ever going to sustain itself based on local tourists, which is why Disney World still has their annual pass system without too many major changes and so on. But Disneyland is 80% locals at any given time. And so they got rid of the annual pass program. They replaced it with the Magic Key program, which is just an annual pass program that requires reservations. Well, what happened? People bought their Magic Keys. And then they were really upset because they were looking on the reservation calendar and seeing that they wouldn't be able to make reservations, even though they bought their pass, for like 6-7 weeks sometimes, because that's how far out these dates were sold out. Weekends are gone all the way till January right now. So you can't go on any weekend. Yes.
What did you think about that? I guess I'm curious what your take was on that, because there were people on Twitter posting these pictures of their Magic Key Pass, and every single day for the rest of the year was sold out. Like, I don't know if that was a fluke or if that was a one, but literally you could not get into the park. This was a week or two ago for the rest of the year.
Yeah. So, we picked our dates for Christmas because we want to see the Christmas stuff. So we were like, let's go on weekdays. Let's pick them now because both of the days we chose are sold out now. So we're going on a Thursday and Friday in December, and we'll get a hotel down there or something, and we'll go see all the Christmas stuff and just take our time. And that's good enough for us, honestly. But there are people who use Disneyland as not their main outlet, their only outlet. There were people before the pandemic who went to Disneyland, a couple nights a week for dinner. They'd like go to Disneyland, grab dinner, watch a show, leave. They would go last minute. Their friends would be like, hey, meet me at Disneyland. They would show up last minute. That stuff that can't happen anymore. The like booking system makes it so you can't just suddenly choose to do something. And I think that that's upsetting a lot of people. Does it really affect me? Not so much. But for example, I found out that some friends of mine from Lake Oswego are going down to Disneyland in December, and I would love to see them and go hang out in the parks with them. But as it stands, I check every day in the morning when I first wake up. None of the dates that they're here can I go. It could open up at literally any minute, so it's not like hopeless, but it's annoying that I have to go check every day. Like, I don't want to have to do that. It's somewhat cumbersome. But I would just say, if you're buying tickets to go, I'm pretty sure you can go almost any day. They hold back tickets that you can buy. If you're an out-of-towner and you want to come to Disneyland, I'm sure it's fine. But what Chris is saying about it being so crowded, that's because they're literally booked full every weekend through the rest of the year. And you just can't go to Disneyland right now without there being like hordes of people. So many people. It would make you so uncomfortable, Christy.
So we got our tickets, like you said, every day was open in November when I booked, and through December as well. I didn't check the 24th or anything like that because we're going in the early part. What would you say the crowd percentage is now versus before? Do you have any feel on that? Like when you say it's busy, is it as packed as it was before? Or are we talking about like 70% of the people and it feels packed?
They don't release numbers publicly. When I was a cast member, they would tell us that stuff so that we could prepare for how stressed we would be that day. They don't release any of that information publicly usually. But I'll remind you that Disneyland before the pandemic had a maximum capacity like of 70 to 80,000. And when they built Galaxy's Edge, that was meant to increase it even more than that. So I actually don't know what their actual capacity is anymore. But I know that like when we went on the 60th, for the 60th anniversary's first day, which was the scariest day I've ever spent at Disneyland, there were like 80,000 people there by 10 in the morning, and they had to close the turnstiles completely. It was scary. It was actually kind of scary. So I do think that this idea that the parks are less fun when it's at capacity is obviously true. They are less fun when they're at capacity. So for folks who are enjoying the like 50 to 60% capacity that Disney World's having right now, you're right. That is a lot better. I would much prefer that myself. Unfortunately, I'm going to experience the 50th on Marathon Weekend, which attracts people. Though, I mean, I can't think of how many people must be attracted to Marathon Weekend. It's probably less than 100,000. I don't know if it's much, much, much more crowded that weekend, but still, I'm a little jealous of all the people who thought that October would be the busiest time ever to go to Disney World, and it's like kind of pleasant.
Let's not leave it on a downer here before we finish up. Any exciting news coming out of Disneyland down there for people that may be heading down to the parks, other than they've got the Halloween stuff going on, and then it's always just like Disney World magical at Christmas time?
Oh yeah, Disneyland at Christmas time is like a warm hug. And I haven't been to Disneyland at Christmas since the pandemic. So I'm obviously expecting a cathartic experience because I'm one of the people who decorates for the holidays on Disney's schedule. So we decorate, like we put our Christmas tree up on November 1st. I know some people are listening to this screaming, which is fine. You can put it up after Thanksgiving. We all can be our individual selves. But I think that there is a really high demand now. I think it's going to settle. There's going to be a point where there is not this desire to go every single day. Even something amazing like Disneyland gets old after a while, and it becomes less special if you just keep going all the time. So I think what's eventually going to happen is most annual pass holders will fall into a groove where they maybe go once a month. And that feels like a totally reasonable amount of times to go to Disneyland. So I feel like once we hit that stage, it'll be great. Right now, there's a giant building for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, like massive building. And Disney can't hide that building is there. So they just put up a giant sign that says, "What building? There's no building here," which is just kind of like funny. So that's coming to the resort in 2023. I would not be surprised if for 2022, we find out that some ride is getting plussed up or done over again because they don't have any new attractions slated to open next year. Also, they're working on World of Color. World of Color's fun and epic, and I'm excited that they're fixing the fountains, and that should be coming back. They drained the fountain pits for Fantasmic, so that's coming back. So we're getting a lot. Oh, and parades are coming back next month, I think. We're getting a ton of fun stuff coming back to Disneyland, and it's getting more and more and more normal. I'm kind of just excited for it to feel like normal again and to get to see Fantasmic and to get to see World of Color, because those are like my happy place. The spectaculars and the shows are always my favorite thing at any of the parks.
You guys get World of Color, we get Kite Tails.
What's so funny is they tried to give you World of Color with whatever Rivers of Light, and then it was not World of Color, and everyone was like, wait, we don't like this.
But then they replaced it with Kite Tails.
But listen, I can't wait. I can't wait to go to Kite Tails. I want to go to both showings. I want to see all of it. And I hope the kites sink and all the stuff, because that just feels like drama and excitement.
Do you think Kite Tails are still going to be there in January?
Christy, if they close Kite Tails before January, I am launching a formal complaint at City Hall.
He'll be out there with the Bring Back Mr. Toad people.
Literally, give us Kite Tails. Also, I used to think that when they showed the videos of the Baloo like crashing into the stands, I thought that was accidental. That's literally how the show is designed. They like just don't seat people in that section. They fly next to it, and then the balloon crashes into the bleachers. And I'm like, I need to be as close to that as humanly possible. I'm so here for it. I can't wait.
I still can't believe it's a thing. Like we discussed this via text, I believe, one day that I was like, come on. I thought for sure this was a joke. This was one of those, haha, guys, look what they came up with next. No, it's real. I mean, this is what we get. Joe Rohde goes to work for Virgin or something, and we get Kite Tails.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I hope I just need to sit as close to the crash zone as possible.
It can only get better, right?
Yeah, they'll rehearse it.
Exactly. All right, so we gotta get out of here tonight. But I guess overall, I think the two of us, Christy, you and I, have had just amazing experiences. All of the listeners we've had come on, some hiccups there here and there. We're going to hear about that here in a week or so once we get Donna on. But Chris, I know you and Seth are going to have an amazing time too. So if you and your family out there cruising, take your patience. It's not going to be exactly the same, but just have fun with it. Enjoy the time with your families and also with the cast members out there, because they're doing the best that they can to make it a magical experience for you.
And thank you to our listeners who are reaching out to ask travel questions and book future trips. We just booked a bunch of cabins for the 2023 winter release. So thank you guys for that. We appreciate it.
And Chris, I'll let you have the final saying, your thoughts before you get on the Disney Wonder in just about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm excited to finally sail on it. It's my Grand Slam cruise, as they say in the business. And also, I'm excited to get on the Wonder before she starts sailing out of Asia in 2023. I think it'll be a really great time.
Heard it here first. It's not a real thing.
Lots of speculation. All right. Well, as we get out, once again, everybody, thanks for coming back and taking a listen. And we'll see you next time on the DCL podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. I hope you enjoyed this potpourri or Cabana's buffet of topics, something a little bit different, and we hope to do this a little bit more often in the future. Next week, we'll be back with another wonderful trip report from the Disney Wonder again, and we've got trip reports coming in from the Fantasy and also a couple DCL 101 series coming up in the future as well. So lots of great content coming out there to help you and your family's cruise a little smarter here from us here at the DCL podcast. If you're enjoying our shows, we sure would appreciate it if you would pass it on to others who might enjoy it as well. Also, if you have time to go over to iTunes and leave us an iTunes review, that helps us get our show known a little bit better in the Disney cruising, Disney, and just cruising and travel community in general. We thank each and every one of you who've taken the time to do so. We'd also like to thank our Patreon supporters who help bring this show to you each and every week. You can find out more about our Patreon program over at patreon.com/DCL podcast. Well, there are lots of cruises coming up. The Walt Disney World 50th anniversary is going on. And of course, as we talked about, lots of people headed down to Disneyland. If you're headed on vacation coming up here in the near future, on behalf of myself, Steve, Christy, and Chris, all of us here at the DCL podcast, we'd like to wish you to be well out there. Enjoy the time you have with family and friends. And we'll see you next time on the DCL podcast.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.